Welcome to Informatica Cloud 201 On-Demand course. Module 7, Informatica Cloud Advanced Properties and Primary Key Chunking. After completing this module, you will be able to understand what PK chunking is, discuss when can we use PK chunking with the help of an example, and discuss PK chunking header. Let us now discuss what PK chunking is. PK stands for primary key. PK chunking is a new feature enabled by Salesforce for its bulk API. In Informatica Cloud, it is available for bulk API tasks which use Salesforce API version 32 or above. This feature is enabled and configured on the Schedule tab of the task. As you may know, a database table's primary key is the object's record ID and is used to uniquely identify records in the table. Primary key is always indexed. If PK chunking is enabled, then bulk queries are split on very large tables into chunks based on the primary keys of the queried records. Each chunk is processed as a separate batch that counts toward your daily batch limit, and you must download each batch result separately. You must specify the size of the chunk while enabling PK chunking. This feature allows a query to fetch large amount of records for each batch job run. So PK chunking enables massive jobs to run without timing out. The chunking of records is done with the help of SOQL queries. PK chunking provides improved performance as there is very little manual intervention. You simply enter a few parameters on your bulk API job, and Platform automatically splits the query into separate chunks. It also executes a query for each chunk and returns the data. So when should we use PK chunking? Salesforce recommends that you must enable PK chunking for objects that have more than 10 million records. A typical use case could be as follows. Let's say that an organization has more than 10 million records that need to be transferred from a Salesforce org to their own on-premise database tables. The organization faces connection issues, and the DSS task times out while transferring the record. The organization has a Salesforce org connection with an API version of 32.0 or higher in Informatica Cloud. This is an ideal situation where the organization can enable PK chunking for the Informatica Cloud org. So a solution to the business issue discussed in the previous slide, let us now understand how PK chunking helps to fetch data in batches. If there are 10 million records in Salesforce and if PK chunking is enabled with a chunk size of 25,000, then the bulk queries sent to Salesforce would have a where clause based on the primary key of the table. Each query will then fetch a maximum amount of 25,000 records. If the normal query is select name from account, then with PK chunking, the queries would be as shown on your screen. Let us now discuss about PK chunking headers. Salesforce Bulk API includes two new request headers. One of the headers lets you enable primary key chunking for bulk queries. PK chunking header is added while creating bulk API jobs and not batch jobs. The syntax to enable PK chunking feature is sforce enable PK chunking. This is mentioned in the PK chunking header. Let us discuss some more field values. Some common field values are true. This enables PK chunking with the default chunk size, starting from the first record ID in the queried table. False. This disables PK chunking. If the header is not provided in the request, the default is false. Chunk size. This specifies the number of records within the ID boundaries for each chunk. The default is 100,000, and the maximum size is 250,000. If the query contains filters or soft deleted records, the number of return results for each chunk could be less than the chunk size. Parent. This specifies the parent object when you're enabling PK chunking for queries on sharing objects. The chunks are based on the parent's object records rather than sharing the object record. For example, when querying an account share, specify account as a parent object. PK chunking is supported for sharing object as long as the parent object is supported. Start row. This specifies a 15-character or 18-character record ID to be used as a lower boundary for the first chunk. Use this parameter to specify a starting ID when restarting a job that failed between batches. An example of a PK chunking header can be shown as follows. Let us now discuss various utilization of PK chunking. PK chunking can be used for most standard objects and all custom objects in Salesforce. This helps jobs run more efficiently because of the smaller chunks of data being run with each bulk API batch. If a job fails while processing, PK chunking can restart the job from the point of failure. Let us now discuss what chunk size would be best to split the bulk queries. If the chunk size is small, it will increase the performance and speed of the queries. However, there is a flip side to this. A small chunk size will take up more bulk API batches and may take more time to complete the job. To solve this issue, you can specify a larger chunk size, and this will result in fewer bulk API batches. However, if the chunk size is too large, it might cause the job to time out frequently, and this will impact the performance of the job. So to find out the optimal chunk size for each dataset, you will need to experiment with the chunk sizes. Based on the number of records to be fetched, chunk size can be made smaller or larger. You should create different chunk sizes to find out which size is the optimal chunk size. However, you should note that the maximum chunk size should not be larger than 250,000. A leading global trade and risk management organization provides a banking software that delivers financial risk management to the world's leading financial institutions. The organization is a market leader, serving 2,000 banks and financial institutions in more than 130 countries. The business need was that the organization wanted to develop a comprehensive end-to-end data integration solution to more efficiently deliver the business objectives. They also wanted to migrate on-premise data to the cloud in an effort to consolidate activity due to ongoing company acquisitions. Finally, they wanted to integrate data from Salesforce.com to efficiently execute bulk API DSS tasks. The challenges that the organization faced was that they had to manage disparate call centers that operated independent processes. Due to acquisition of new companies, they needed to centralize administration and support. They also needed to overcome lack of transparency into the organization's own customers, contract terms, including assets and support. However, daily synchronization of all the data was nearly impossible. The organization used Informatica Cloud Services to address all the issues discussed so far. Informatica Cloud unifies different Salesforce opportunities by account and blends different products, services, education, and support offerings. With the help of Informatica Cloud PK chunking feature, they could now run DSS tasks to fetch millions of records, process them, and write them to the target tables. So they were able to complete Salesforce migration in 1/3 of the time, using fewer people. They were also able to deliver a single view of the sales pipeline by account and all products and offerings for a specific deal for every customer worldwide. In this demo, we will implement the PK chunking property to run a DSS task. Log into the Informatica Cloud org and select Data Integration from the My Services window. To create a data synchronization task, select New from the navigation pane. Select Synchronization Task and click Create. The first step of the wizard is Definition. Under the task details, in the task name text field, enter the name as DSS PK chunking. In the task operation drop-down list, select Insert and click Next. Select the active Salesforce connection, check the single radio button for the source type, and click the Select button for the source object. Select the contact object and click Select. Click Next to configure the Target tab. Select your flat file connection and click the Select button for the target object. Select the contact.csv file and click Select. Click Next. As we will skip the data filter step, click Next again. To map all the target fields, click the Auto Match button and click Validate to validate the mapping. As the mapping is valid, click Next. to configure the Schedule tab. We will now configure the advanced properties. Scroll down to the Advanced Salesforce options. Select the Bulk API option from the Salesforce API dropdown. In the Advanced Source Properties option, check the Enable PK Chunking option. Set the PK chunking size to be 10. You can change the size to any appropriate value from 0 to 250,000. Click Finish to save the DSS task. Click Run to run the synchronization task. Now, click My Jobs on the navigation pane to see that the task has run successfully. As the mapping is successfully executed, we see that the status as success, with 20 success rows processed. Click DSS PK Chunking 1 under the instance name to open Job Properties. Click on Download Session Log. We can observe the chunking lines and queries in the session log. There are 2 batch jobs created with the chunk size of 10. This concludes the demo on Informatica Cloud Advanced Session Properties, PK Chunking. You are now ready to take the lab exercise on PK Chunking. In this lab, you will create a DSS task to insert Salesforce contact data to a flat file. Enable PK Chunking for the task. View queries and chunking lines in session log. This concludes Informatica Cloud Advanced Properties Primary Key Chunking. In summary, we understood what PK chunking is, discussed when we can use PK chunking with the help of an example, and discussed PK chunking header.